Hi everyone, welcome to the weekly Farbrengen. This week we read Parshas Emor, and as always, Parshas Emor is read in the month of Iyar. Parshas Emor contains in it the mitzvah of Sefiras Haomer, counting the Haomer, in which the month of Iyar is the only month that every day of the month has this special mitzvah of counting the Haomer. The Rebbe tells a story in the name of the Frierdiker Rebbe that describes and expresses the meaning of counting the Haomer. The story is about a chassid of the Alter Rebbe by the name of Rab Gavriel Noisechein. This chassid of the Alter Rebbe, together with his wife, they lived in the city of Vitebsk. And for 15 years after their marriage, they hadn't been blessed with children. Now, although Rab Gavriel originally was extremely well-to-do, and he had a lot of very successful businesses, he began to suffer various persecutions, which also affected and caused that he lost all of his money until he had nothing. To the extent, and this was what bothered him the most about the loss of his money, was that when a messenger came from the Alter Rebbe would send messengers around the outlying towns to go to all the Chassidim to raise money for various mitzvahs that the Alter Rebbe was involved in. At this point, the Alter Rebbe was involved in the mitzvah of Pidyon Shvuyim, of redeeming captives, and so he sent a person to go and collect money from the Chassidim. And when he came to Vitebsk, usually Rabbi Gavriel was one of the places where he got a nice sum of money, and here Rabbi Gavriel had nothing to give him. When Rabbi Gavriel's wife noticed how downtrodden, how upset he was by the fact that he couldn't give the Rebbe the usual sum of money, she went without telling him and sold her Shabbos pearls. And the money that she got from it, the golden rubles, she polished them until they shone. She wrapped them up in a cloth, and she sent her husband to go travel to the Rebbe to personally deliver the money. When Rabbi Gavriel arrived at the Alter Rebbe opened the package, and he asked Rabbi Gavriel, where did this money come from? And at that time, the Alter Rebbe went into Adveikus, and he said the following: in the gifts for the Mishkan, the only thing that shone was the copper of the kiyar that was brought by the Jewish women. Rabbi Gavriel was forced to tell the Alter Rebbe the story about how he had lost all his money, and his wife, Chana Rivka Bas Bela, sold her pearls and polished these coins with a tefillah that their mazel should also shine likewise. The Alter Rebbe gave them a bracha that they should have good mazel, they should have an exceptional nesiyas chen, finding favor in the eyes of people, and that they should retrieve all their riches and have children, and they should live for a very long life. And sure enough, Rabbi Gavriel became very rich again. They had children, and Rabbi Gavriel lived to the age of 100, and his wife to the age of 110. When the Frierdiker Rebbe would tell this story, he ended off with a vort of the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe explains, Usfartem lochem. Usfartem lochem, the word sfartem means to count. The word usfartem also comes from the word sapir, sapphire, an exceptional shine. Usfartem lochem, we must make our lochem, our own animal soul, shine. Let's think of this story, and let's think of the idea of Sefiras Haomer. When the women brought the mirrors, the copper mirrors, as a gift for the Mishkan, Rashi tells us that Moshe Rabbeinu haya mima'is bahem. Moshe Rabbeinu was disgusted by it. He said, I'm not going to take objects that were created for Yetzer Hara, that were made to seduce people to sin. I can't use these for a mishkan, for a dwelling place for Hashem. And Hashem said, no, take these. Because the Jewish women managed to transform these, to use it for the ultimate positivity. There's a story someone told me was Reb Mendel Futterfass. Reb Mendel Futterfass was once for a conference or something. He was in a hotel. And his grandchildren, they figured he's an older man. They went and they got for him, they put together money and they got the most expensive suite in the hotel that he should have a comfortable bed for the night. Reb Mendel came into the hotel after the conference. When he came into the room, he made a ruckus. He said, I'm not sleeping on this bed. This bed in a hotel, which people use for negative things, I refuse to sleep on this bed. And so finally they had no choice, but they had to get him a cot. So in all the fancy room, he ended up sleeping on a cot. And the interesting thing is, we look at this concept and we look at this idea and we see the concept of Sefiras Haomer. Sefiras Haomer starts after Pesach. Pesach, we run away from evil to the extent that we can't even eat a crumb of chametz. We can't even have in our possession even one single crumb of chametz. We run away from anything that smells of ego, that smells of I, because I is a contradiction to the recognition of the truth of Hashem. Pesach is when the Jewish people were sunk in the 49 gates of impurity. Inside the Mitzrayim, the Meitzarim, the limitations of this physical world. A world that doesn't recognize, that says Lo Yodati Es Havaya, that doesn't recognize anything other than me and my desires and my will, and there's nothing that stands in the way of that. On Pesach we run away from there. On Pesach we escape Mitzrayim. Kivarach, we run away from the constraints of Egypt. And that's what a person has to start with. A person has to start with the fight, with the war, with the way of fighting with the world, such as something that's used for the world. It's not for me, it's not for Kedusha. That's the beginning. That's the beginning of a person's avodah, because otherwise I'm sunk in it. And to tell another story of Reb Mendel Futterfass, I guess today will be his turn. Reb Mendel Futterfass, in Russia, he was a businessman, and he had a business partner, and they made a lot of money, according to the situation at that time in Russia. And when every day, at the end of the day, he would go to the business partner and we say, let's split. The business partner was another chassid, a chassidish yid. He said, let's split. You take your half, you take your share, and I'll take my share. He would take his share, he would take out of it whatever was necessary in order to take care of the home. And the rest, he would go over and give it to tzedakah. He would go to the gabbai tzedakah, the one who was responsible for feeding the hungry, for supporting the yeshivas, etc., and he would give him all the rest of the money. And that's the way he would do for a long time. One time his friend, his partner, says to him, Reb Mendel, he says, I don't understand. How can you give away everything you have? Now, today we managed to make money. What's going to happen one day? You're not going to make money. How are you going to feed your family? And he convinced him and he spoke to him for a long time until he finally convinced me. He said, you want to give away 50%, give away some, but some of it you have to keep. And so he agreed. He gave away a large amount to tzedakah, and the rest, there was no ability of putting money in a bank in Russia. The bank was in your backyard. You dug a hole and you hid the money in the hole. Reb Mendel went to sleep that night and he couldn't fall asleep. His wife notices he's tossing and turning. Finally, in the middle of the night, he gets up and he takes out the money and he runs over to the one who was in charge of Temchet Mimim. He says, here's the money, and then he goes back and is able to sleep. The next morning, his wife realized, she recognized what had happened, and she asks him, she says, Reb Mendel, I don't understand. Why did you have to go in the middle of the night and wake this guy up and give him the money? You couldn't wait until the morning and give him the money? And so he says, if my nefesh habahamis, if my Yetzer Hara managed to win me once, how can I be sure he won't win me again? As long as we allow that Yetzer Hara, as long as we allow that animal to tell us what to do, we have to run away from it completely with not even one crumb of chametz left. And yet, that's not the ultimate. The ultimate is usfartem lochem, because if we want to reach Shavuos, if we want to reach Matan Torah when Hashem is able to reveal His presence in the world, if we want to reach the idea of the coming of Mashiach when the whole world is transformed, we can't only run away from our animal, we have to work on transforming it, and that's the usfartem lochem, make the lochem shine. It's an amazing thing. The beginning of this week's Parsha, Parshas Emor, it says Emor v'amarta, and Rashi says lahazir gedolim alaktanim. The word lahazir typically means to warn the older ones that they should take care of the younger ones. Why? Because since it costs money, if you don't warn, then you may not do this properly, and when it's something that a person has to spend money for it, it's not a thing the person will necessarily do, because the nefesh habahamis can jump in. And yet the word lahazir also means something else. The word lahazir means to make shine. Zoyar v'oir, make shine. Our job, our mission in the world is not only to run away from the world, to make sure that we're able to do it, usfartem, to count every minute and every hour that it should be used properly, but to make the animal, the lochem, to make the animal soul shine. Our job is to transform until the animal soul can shine. And that's also the idea we say in Pirkei Avos, akavya ben mahalal leimer. The Alter Rebbe explained the word akavya means the piyate, the heel. Mahalal means mahalkel, he who praises Hashem, he who davens. The piyata of a davener, the heel of a davener. Yes, I can daven, I can feel the yearning, I can feel the connection, I can feel my soul is running away from the world. And yet what the Alter Rebbe teaches us, and what specifically the Rebbe teaches us, is it's not enough to run away. The akavya, the akev, the heel of the davener has to also shine. The lowest part has to shine as well, because only then can there be istakil bishloisha devarim. Only then can we actually look and gaze at the three things. The three things meaning the third geula and the third Beis HaMikdash, the transformation. Transforming everything can only happen when we don't only see one, that there's Hashem and there's nothing else, or two, that there's Hashem and there's me who has to accomplish a mission, but rather three, where we're connecting the world with Hashem. That's our job, transforming the world. And to give the idea in two more stories. Another story about Reb Mendel Futterfass, a very interesting story. Reb Mendel, as we know, was in Gulag in Russia for many years, for Avas Yisrael, for helping his fellow Jew. He was in Siberia, and there was a group of people, Jews, who had been communists. But as they said in Russia, everyone always ends up in the same place. It doesn't matter. The question is how long it takes you to get there. It didn't matter you were a communist, you were this, you were that. Everyone came for whatever reason they got you. So they had been communists who didn't keep Yiddishkeit or anything. And they ended up in the same place as Reb Mendel, and from observing this chassid, the way he davens, the way he has Mesiras Nefesh for every mitzvah, they slowly became closer to the fulfillment of mitzvahs, and they asked and they begged him, teach us about the Torah, teach us about the mitzvahs. He came Yom Kippur, and Reb Mendel taught them all about Yom Kippur and what a Jew has to do on Yom Kippur. They came to him on Matzah Yom Kippur. Matzah Yom Kippur, Reb Mendel was davening at lengths until he finished Ne'ilah, until he finished Maidav. It took a longer time, hours after the fast was actually over. They waited. They came over to him. They said, we fasted this year for the first time on Yom Kippur because of your influence and because of what you taught us. And they said, we waited. We didn't break our fast yet because we managed to obtain in the camps in Russia. People knew how to obtain things. We managed to obtain a bottle of mashka, a bottle of vodka. We want you to fabreng with us. We want you to sit and fabreng and celebrate the fact that we actually managed to fast here in the gulags in Russia. We managed to fast for the first time in our lives. Reb Mendel sat with them and he spoke to them and he celebrated with them, but he didn't say l'chaim. He didn't drink anything. And he explained this later when he came out. He explained this to Chassidim. He said, it's something that I had learned amongst Chassidim. That when Yosef HaTzadik, when he was estranged from his brothers, when he was sent to Egypt, when he left his brothers, he didn't drink wine and they didn't drink wine for 22 years until they were together and they didn't even realize they were together. But at that time was the first time both of them, both the brothers and Yosef, drank. And he said, to fabreng is beautiful, to influence my fellow Jew and to have Mesiras Nefesh to influence my fellow Jew is amazing. But to say l'chaim I can do only with my brothers, with Chassidim. Then Reb Mendel he came to America eventually, he went to England, etc. But when he came to the Rebbe and he started learning the Rebbe's sichos, and he started learning the chassidus the Rebbe teaches, and he said, and then I hit myself and I told myself, you were such a fool. I realized then, based on how the Rebbe teaches chassidus, that another Jew who even fasted on Yom Kippur for the first time with Mesiras Nefesh, of course he's my brother. The outlook, even amongst Chassidim, before the Rebbe's teachings, was more one of, yes, we'll have Mesiras Nefesh to help our fellow Jew, but there's number two, it's two separate things. There's me, who's a chassid, who's connected, who learned chassidus, and who understands what it means to have pleasure in Elokus. And then there's another Jew who I'll give my life for. I'll give my life for him, but it's different. We're not brothers. We're not those who can sit and say l'chaim together. When he learned the Rebbe's sichos, that's when Reb Mendel realized a whole new thing of how it's not just that there's a world that I have to affect because this is my job. The ultimate is to take no matter which aspect of the world, even the ones who haven't yet transformed, and bring and reveal Elokus in there. And that was what happened with Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu saw the mirrors of the women and he said, these were used for negative things, I can't use them to bring Hashem in there. And Hashem told him no. These were used and transformed. The Jewish women managed to transform these to reveal godliness. This is in fact the only thing that shines. Our job is to make our nefesh abamis shine. To make it shine so that no matter what we're involved with, yes, the first step is run away from negativity, from evil, from something that doesn't allow Hashem in. But the most important step, which that's the step that we're in now in the preparation for the ultimate, for the time of Mashiach. In a world of darkness, in a world where the evil is in charge, where the evil, as they say, celebrates, and yet we have that power to take every aspect of the world and to reveal godliness in it. It's the same with our personal lives. Everyone knows this story. There was a chassid, a shliach. There is a shliach. His name was Reb Shabsai Slavetiski. And he had a certain person who used to come to Chabad house and to learn chassidus, etc. And one day this person came and he revealed to him, he opened up to him and he says, I have a non-Jewish girlfriend and we're strongly in love and I'm planning on marrying her. Now all this chassidus I learned and everything else, but the fact is I feel like I can't change that. So Reb Shabsai told him, why don't you go to the Rebbe? He said, no, I'm afraid. Why? Because he had gone to other great rabbis. And each rabbi described to him the punishment that there is for this terrible sin, the terrible ramifications that there are of it, etc. But finally he agreed and he went to the Rebbe. And he went to the Rebbe and he went by dollars and he told the Rebbe, in short, he told the Rebbe his story. And the Rebbe looked at him and the Rebbe said, I'm jealous of you. And he looked, he said, I think I didn't hear properly. He said, what? The Rebbe said, yes, I'm jealous of you. Because I never had such a test. You who have such a powerful test and it's so hard for you. And when you will overcome that test, that transformation, the level that you'll reach is greater and more powerful than anything I can ever dream of reaching. And that's what the Rebbe teaches us, Usfartem Lachem. In our lives, we have to take every opportunity, even the negative things that we've done already, even the things that we're sunk into, but take it and transform it and use it as a conduit to bring us closer to Hashem. And ultimately to transform the world, to reveal Mashiach in the world and the building of the third Beis HaMikdash, in which the entire world will recognize, every aspect of the world will recognize the oneness and the truth of Hashem. And that now, as we always say, that Hashem definitely will give each and every one all the brachis in the open and revealed good in the physical world, because like the Alter Rebbe says, Hashem gives Jews Gashmias. He gives Jews physical things, and a Jew takes the Gashmias and transforms it into Ruchnias, the ultimate shine of the Gula Amitis Vashlema, with the revelation of Melech HaMashiach immediately.